Welcome to another episode of the Rolling Over 40 podcast. This is episode 11 with my friend and training partner today. This is Mr. Hieu Vu. Hieu is a purple belt, our second purple belt. So what a privilege to have a higher belt here to give us a whole lot of knowledge that us old white belts need. And he is a private criminal defense attorney, and he loves to crush white belts, similar to other higher belts I know. And he has been training since when, Hugh?
Oh gosh, that's you want the condensed version or you want?
Ooh, we can get into it all, but just give me a month and year real quick, and then we'll let you get into the long version.
2008 with a break, and then started it again in 2022.
Oh, wow. So welcome to the podcast, Hieu Vu. It's a pleasure to have you here. Thank you for joining me. I'm really happy and been excited about this all week, and I trained with you this morning, which was really fun. Hugh and I finished training like an hour and a half ago, and here we are now. So where shall we begin, Mr. Hugh? I'd love to know your story. You said 2008? That's a long time ago, sir. And was that jujitsu or was it kickboxing or where'd you start?
Oh well, that was jujitsu around 2008 at the end of law school. I think I had a set of books. And then, I had a set of books, and I was trying to unload it online. And then I ran into a guy named, Jamie Polak, who worked at Zuffa. And I was just like, what the heck is Zuffa? He's like, you like UFC?
That's what I'm saying right now. What the heck is Zuffa?
Yeah, Zuffa was, I guess, the company that, I guess, ran the UFC before they sold it off to, the current owners right now.
Really?
Yeah.
I did not know that.
And then, but I was just like, who the heck? And then he gave me like 8 tickets to UFC 52. And I remember it was like Horace Gracie and Matt Hughes or something like that. And then,
no kidding.
Yeah. After that, I was like, okay, this is cool stuff. And then,
Wait, and you went to see that fight?
I went to.
With the ticket?
I got tickets. I went to see it. It was right here in Anaheim.
Okay.
After that, I started I guess, paying more close attention to jiu-jitsu. And then after that, I worked at a small video store before BJJ Fanatics. There was a place called Brutal Videos. I worked there, and then after that,
wait, a video store. Hold on, what's the connection between this random video store you mentioned and BJJ Fanatics?
Well, before BJJ Fanatics, BJJ Fanatics is a platform where a lot of people can make their own instructionals. However, before that, people didn't do that, and I guess there were people who made video productions like DVDs, and they had distributors and stores. Budo Videos was this video store in Garden Grove, and it was run by a guy named Jake McKee. Although it was the place where everybody got their DVDs back old school in the old school days.
Oh, but hold on. So but I mean, people would sell their like instructional DVDs there. So for like things like jujitsu and other things as well, or just jujitsu?
They had a lot of traditional martial arts stuff as well, although a lot of the materials was jiu-jitsu.
I see. I see. So you're working at this video store, and this is after you went to that fight, and now you're seeing all these instructional jiu-jitsu videos, and then this kind of piqued your interest?
Yeah. So, I would see a lot of people come in, and then, I don't know, just, talking with a lot of people on the phones. I would just see people, buying a lot of instructionals. I was like, this is cool stuff. And then I would see a lot of the, I guess, local people who would train as well. And then, that's why I met my first, jiu-jitsu teacher. He came in, and I saw several schools, and then I would see a lot of people from our school. Well, not our school, I guess, the precursor to our school, No Limits.
Oh, the one that Human went to.
Yeah. A lot of people from No Limits, and then you would see a lot of people from the local jiu-jitsu schools as well. And then No Limits had a lot of people, and then Clever's had a lot of people, But
Klebers, I don't know that one, but I know Jiva instructed at No Limits, right?
yeah, and I think at that time they were all like, Jiva's people and stuff like that as well. And then after that, took a break, took like a 10-year.
Wait. But you started training then in 08 then?
Yeah, started training there. Yeah, started training
at No Limits.
Actually, no, not No Limits. Over at Koi's old school. Over at
Koi's old school. Yeah. Oh, and what was it called?
Nam Fans.
Nam Fans. And all right, so you hadn't met Jiva or anybody yet at this time?
No.
Okay, and how long did you train there?
I trained there for about 2.5 years.
Okay, and did you like it?
It was good. I liked it. It was jiu-jitsu, although it was more did it have a gi and
Nogi.
Yeah, and it was I think over at Nam School it was more geared towards MMA a lot.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
So you were doing a lot of that. So were you were doing a little bit of everything, not just jiu-jitsu?
It was some boxing as well. I mean, it was some MMA. Yeah, Muay Thai, although I think I put most of it into jiu-jitsu though.
Okay. But I mean, so at the time, if you would walk in the door, did you know what you were training? Did they have it all set up to where it's like, okay, on this day we're doing jiu-jitsu, on that day we're doing, okay, so you went to mostly the jiu-jitsu classes that they had offered there for about 2.5 years. And so there's no gi, so there wasn't really like belts and whatnot and ranks like that?
He had ranks. Yeah. I got the blue belt. And then after that,
they did. Okay. You said quick? Got the blue belt?
No, I got the blue belt and then I quit.
Oh, and then you quit. So then why did you quit after getting the blue belt?
Well, I quit because I moved. I moved from Garden Grove over to Tustin.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
And then on top of that, marriage and stuff like that, career, and life got in the way.
Uh-huh. And but all this was after law school, right? So, but you were like, I mean, I know lawyers are busy people. So in this time, were you working at a firm and you're putting in I hear horror stories, 80 hours a week and whatnot?
I graduated law school, horrible job market. We had to kill to eat, so to say. So it was just opening my own practice and putting everything into it. And then at that time, this is kind of maybe an our age thing, but all the classes were 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, which is not very conducive to somebody kind of somebody getting out of work and stuff for that. So they didn't have any 5 o'clock classes and stuff for that. So the only thing I could do was just run. So, I just took up endurance instead.
I see. And this was 2.5 years. So this is early 2010s?
Yeah.
Okay. And you're living in Tustin now. And so you took up endurance running. So we're talking marathons?
Yeah. So just took that up and just anything I could do to, I guess, keep busy and stuff for that.
Keep active?
Yeah.
Oh man. So were you running before work or after work, or when were you doing these crazy long runs?
5 o'clock usually 5 in the mornings. It's just just running anywhere I can, but usually 5 in the mornings or in the afternoon after work with colleagues.
And what kind of distances were you running at 5 in the morning?
If it's 5 in the morning, usually about 6 to 8.
6 to 8 miles at 5 in the morning. Whew, man. I mean, I'll get up and run in the morning, but I'll do 2 to 3 miles.
Tustin's
and that's kind of my, limit.
Tustin is a great running town, though. I mean,
is it?
Yeah, especially down La Colina. I mean, you could run down La Colina, and then you got the Hicks Canyon Trail, and then you have the Peters Canyon Trail as well.
Okay, I live near Esplanade, so I'll run up and down that little dirt trail.
It's fantastic. I mean, that's the dirt trail that I run from my office and up to Esplanade and up and down. Yeah, it's a fantastic.
Oh, no kidding. Okay, it's just short though. You know what I mean? It's if I run from my house all the way down to Warner and back, that's about 3 miles.
Yeah.
And most of it's on the trail, which is nice. But so you were into that. Now hold on. So years went by and no training at all, no jiu-jitsu, just endurance running?
Yeah, just a whole lot of that. And then I think afterwards, never thought I would come back. I was I thought that part of my life was gone. I was man, all those takedown wrestling and stuff for that.
Why? Why did you think you wouldn't come back?
I just I thought that thing was like, part of my past. It was gone.
Okay, but I mean, you never. I'm surprised to hear that. So there wasn't a part of you that it was never in the back of your head though, or was it always just kind of there, like lingering, like I want to get back into it?
No, never thought I'd get back into it. No.
But here you are. So I'm curious how you went. I'm curious how you went from that to where you are now.
Yeah.
So yeah, but we got time for the long story, the long version of this story. So how did it go from there? How'd you go from there to where you are now?
Fast forward, had kids, took my kids, and then I met Mo a long time ago over at I met Mo a long time ago, like I think like maybe 2010 at an old school. But then I knew his school was close by, and then I lived close by, so I was like, I'm gonna bring my kid here. I'm gonna bring Byron over here, like 6-year-old. So I sat there, and then I was just sitting there watching, and then I was like, holy cow. I mean, at first I saw like, all these browns and blacks. I was like, wow, there's a lot of high ranks here and stuff for that.
Yeah.
And then I saw, Jiva there, and I was like, gosh, wait a minute. That guy looks familiar, And then, I was like, holy cow. And then, so I was just sitting there watching. I was like, wow. And then at that time, I think also Corey was like, talking about it as well. Because if it wasn't for Corey, I wouldn't have probably even entertained as much. I probably would have just dropped off Byron and said, okay, well, I'm out of here.
Why is that? Why was it if it weren't for Coy? What did Coy do?
Like,
how was he so pivotal?
Come give it a try. I was like, okay. And then plus we used to be from the same school as well. So I was like, okay, I'll give it a try.
So you actually trained, so you didn't just know him, you actually trained with him at the other school. Yeah. The No Limits or whatever, or Garden Grove?
Over at the old school NAMS, although I quit a few years before he started.
I see. Yeah. Okay. Okay.
Yeah, we still we knew each other though. So, but he was just like, yeah, come and give it a try. I was like, okay, and then one thing led to another. And I think in the beginning they knew me as Byron's dad.
And this is, what year is this that we're talking?
2022.
20. Okay. So 22. Yeah. So 3 years ago is when you started, were you, I mean, what belt did they put you in when you started? Like blue or? Yeah.
I felt like a white belt. I was like,
I know the feeling.
I told Jiva, I'll take the white, because, at that time I had no understanding of grips. And,
okay. Oh yeah. Cause you were Nogi, right? You were purely Nogi before this,
I had
right?
no understanding of grips. And actually to this day, I still think I have a little understanding of it. But then I had no understanding of it whatsoever. And then I think I mentioned a while ago that the old school was like, more like a very MMA based jiu-jitsu. So, we didn't I remember us going, and this is like, I guess a funny story I like to share, but.
Oh yeah. I love it.
I always heard of De La Riva, I was like, oh yeah. But I remember maybe it was a preference for a top-down game from my old school, but they're like, forget it, get on top pressure, get on top pressure, get on top pressure. It's all about that, there's no bottom game. So
that was at your old school. It was there was no bottom game. It was all top pressure. Is that a no-gi thing, or is that just your school thing, how it was at your old school?
Well, that would be very speculative for me to say, because I haven't been to other schools. Yeah, they're very speculative. Yeah, but then I remember
that's like a lawyer word right there. Yeah, very speculative.
Yes, yeah. I haven't been to enough schools, but then I remember going. And this is a story I share with Corey, and I laugh. And I was like, I remember a drill going to De La Riva, and then I was like, I've never gone. This is not something I do. But now in retrospective, I was like, wow, I didn't know De La Riva, and I felt like total white belt and stuff like that. Yeah. And then I remember another one was leg weave.
Leg weave,
yeah. Yeah, my first first couple of weeks, and I remember just going trying to pass, and somebody say leg weave. I was like, at the end of class, I was like, what's a leg weave? Yeah. So.
And that's because you were all. I mean, that has a lot to do with, again, no-gi, right? Like your previous training is in no-gi. Or is it?
Maybe, yeah, I think so. And then also, I think maybe we learn things differently over here as well. And I think kind of like a lot of guest alluded to, I mean, perhaps there's a different structure over here as well.
Yeah,
Yeah,
right,
very,
right.
very much structured over here.
I see. And did you when you did that when you started and you were a white belt then, right? In 2022, you were technically a white belt.
2022, when I
Or,
restarted, I was technically a blue belt. Yeah.
okay, so you're wearing a blue belt.
Although
Okay.
here, I felt like a white belt.
Okay, you felt like a
I
white
was
belt.
choked
Okay,
out
but
by a
you
white belt.
did. You're
White
not
belt,
anymore, though.
yeah.
I'm sure you're not choked out by white belts anymore.
Some of them do. Like that guy.
Really?
Come on. Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay,
You want to
okay.
choke me out. Yeah.
Okay, all right. Well, that makes me feel better because it's like I've got my one little stripe, and I feel, and it hurts my ego when like a white belt with no stripes, well, not chokes me out, but like if I can't sweep them or if they pass my guard too easily, I'm like, damn, I don't even. What am I doing with this stripe? They should be the one with the stripe. I should give the stripe to them.
Well, you'll be surprised. I mean, I still get caught by like white belts and blue belts and
Okay.
stuff like that. I mean, there are times when the technique just hits and stuff like that.
Yeah, right. And so at this time, were you in the morning class or did you start in the evening class?
I started oh, that's a good question. Yeah, I started
Right.
in the evening. Actually, my first class was in the noon class. And then afterwards, I went to the evening class. However, the problem was I found it hard to get any type of consistency.
Okay.
It was always just, oh, you know what? I don't know how the schedule is going to look like. Am I going to go back to the evenings? And just life happens in the daytime. So
right.
I found it very hard. And I guess I'm a person of habit. So I would just, eventually I found my groove in the morning. So
I have noticed that, but yeah, I didn't know that you ever did a evening class or anything like that.
I did, although I've been to 2 evening classes in 2 years. Lately.
2 evening classes in 2 years.
Well,
yeah, that's not very many, but I'm surprised to hear you started in the noon class because isn't that kind of the most competitive class we have at our gym?
I had no clue what it was. It was the only time that I could make it in, and then I was coordinating with Corey. He's like, "Oh yeah, okay, well, okay, yeah, you know what, noon." I had no clue what I was getting into, and then I remember my first role being with Royce, and then my second role, and I always mentioned this to Zach, but my second role was with Zach, and then
Zach. Oh wait, do I know Zach? Is he who's Zach?
Zach. Oh, we all know Zach. Yeah, Zach is purple belt. Yeah. Zach, the power lifter. Yeah.
Oh, yes. I know Zach.
Yeah,
okay.
I was just like, okay, I'm in. I mean, after that, I felt all the, how would I say this? The good reasons why you like jujitsu in the first place.
Yeah.
And then after that, it galvanized, and I was like, you know what, I'm in. And then I was like,
wow.
Yeah.
So I think that's pretty fascinating that you went all this time without doing any jujitsu, and without even thinking about it, really. It's like, this is a thing of my past. Then you come back, you're convinced to come back. All right, I'll give it a shot. And you get kind of crushed by 2 beasts, Royce and Zach. And getting crushed by these 2 beasts made you feel like, I'm back, I'm in, I want more.
Pretty much.
Does that sum it up? Yeah?
Yeah.
That's awesome. And you said some of the, it reminded you of some of the good reasons why you do jujitsu. Which would be what, Hieu? What would you say are the good reasons why you do jujitsu? Well,
it was, I think, just a good workout. I mean, I was just done with running. Well, I was away from running because of injuries. Yeah.
Oh, what injuries were you getting?
It was just overuse. Back. Okay. My back started acting up because probably I didn't weight train and strength train enough. All I did was just run. So, I needed a new sport, and then I just remember just like the whole, I would say the muscle memory, and yeah, just the maybe one could refer to as like kind of being in the moment, and like, just kind of like head out of the water, breathing, and coming back in.
Yeah. Now, we talk a lot about on this show just the satisfaction that you get from doing jujitsu and rolling and the therapeutic nature of it all. But, there's that phrase runner's high that we're all familiar with. And you are more familiar with that than I am because I was never much of a runner. I don't really enjoy it that much. It's just, I'll do it. I ran, 3 miles yesterday, but that's like kind of long for me. But you ran all these crazy long distances. I'm sure you're very aware and familiar with runner's high, but how would you describe the difference between the high you get from running and the high you get from a good set of rolls, like this morning, for instance?
Gosh, I believe like I think it comes down to intensity. I mean, the intensity of the workouts. I mean, if you run like a 20-mile run, I mean, that's going to be a hard one to top, or like, a 26-mile run, or like, or an ultra marathon. That's a tough one to equate. And it's almost like, asking to measure apples and oranges.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a hard one. Oh,
but do you get, would you say the 20-mile run, you get more satisfaction out of that than rolling? Or is it just too hard to compare?
It's definitely apples and oranges.
Apples and oranges. Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
definitely apples and oranges. Although
okay.
it's like, picking like, speed versus cocaine.
Oh, right. Oh, yeah, I know. Okay, now. I get it now. Okay. Now that you put it like that. Okay, yeah. Speed versus cocaine. Oh, Hieu, that's good. That is very good. So, but you said you said ultra marathons. Have you done the ultra marathons?
Yes.
Oh my God! All right, hold on. We're talking 100 miles.
No. Highest I did was 50.
You did a 50-mile race.
Yeah, I mean it's nice. I mean it's kind of and this the thing that's similar with jiu-jitsu is that you get to running. The one thing I can equate with running in jiu-jitsu is like part of it is you're able to just shut your mind off and kind of just be in the zone.
Yeah, the zone. Sure.
I guess in the zone, or I guess like be half asleep and then like, your body is still moving.
Okay.
Or I guess you relax at a certain point, and then you start and just kind of react to the rest. I guess. Yeah. I mean, you're running. You're kind of like relaxing and just letting the body move, as long as stopping yourself from tripping over things.
Hold on.
Yeah.
How many 50-mile races did you do?
I've done one.
One. And after that, how long did that take? Let me guess. 10 hours.
15
6 hours. 15 hours. And that's without stopping.
You know what? You stopped. It's through the mountains, so you're going up and down a lot, and you're hiking a lot as well.
Here local?
It was the one I did was over there at Santa Monica Mountains.
Santa Monica Mountains. 50 miles.
And I've done a handful of 50Ks as well. The 50Ks are more, you don't stop as much. That's about 32 miles, so you don't stop as much. So you just kind of running through. And those can be done at about much less time, like 6 to 7 hours, 6.5. Yeah. And then,
I think I would rather roll with Jiva for an hour straight with him being in a really bad mood and wanting to crush people than I would want to run for 15 hours. I would rather roll with every black belt at our gym back to back and have them all choke me out than do that. Yeah.
It's not,
just saying.
I mean, it's kind of like eating food and you're just kind of walking as you go. Yeah.
So you're eating? You eat during the 50 miles? I mean, we're talking like a little like the goo or whatever, right? Like some of those little like, you're not like eating like a croissant or anything like that.
Good, although the intensity is lower, so it's spread out longer.
So you're kind of just going at a very, very, very mild pace for these 15 hours.
Hike. Yeah, it's like a long hike.
Okay. I mean, I've done lots of long hikes. But I was more into mountain climbing. Like I've climbed Whitney like 7 or 8 times. I did the John Muir Trail. Like I've done a lot of long hikes with like a backpack on. But I mean, you're just kind of cruising and all that. What's that?
Have you seen Mile and a Half?
Mile? Did you say mile and a half?
Yeah, it's a documentary about the John Muir Trail. About
okay. I've done half the John Muir Trail.
Holy cow! That's my dream. That's my dream, to do the John Muir Trail.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
But you'd probably want to run through it and do it in like 30 hours or something, right?
That was my goal when I was running. I was like, to get it like 250 miles, I think, or starting up there down to Whitney Portal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We did the bottom half of it. So we did 120 miles of it from Florence Lake to Whitney Portal. And this was like 12, 13 15 years ago, something like that. It was awesome though.
Wow.
It was incredible. It took us 8 days, but I mean, we're, hiking 15 to 20 miles a day with 30 to 40 pound packs on, we weren't, racing like you. You would, again, you would have done it like half a day, but I was, now that you mentioned it, I was sort of getting into it because I was starting to run Baldy for a while there, a couple of years ago. I would run up and down Baldy. So I'd start at Manker Flats and I would run up to the top and run down in, I think I was doing it in like 2.5 hours, something like that. But like, I don't know. To me, that's like, okay, it's 2.5 hours. It's up and down. It's, I'm going pretty fast. I'd rather do that day after day than do one 15-hour, 50-mile run. Still, I don't know about the 50-mile thing. That's pretty crazy.
Yeah, that was exceptional. And the rest were just marathons and stuff for that.
How many marathons did you do?
Oh, gosh. Maybe
oh, gosh.
15, 17 or something like that.
Oh.
Yeah.
You were into it, man.
It was something to do because, like, organized activities was hard.
Okay,
5
sure.
o'clock,
yeah.
there was like 5 o'clock classes, 12 o'clock classes, or like,
right.
some places had classes at 7 o'clock. So it's
you
hard.
Could do this at your own schedule, train when you want.
Yeah.
And man, 15. So honestly, I can kind of see why you didn't think about jiu-jitsu, because to do that many marathons and 50Ks and whatever else you were doing, I mean, that's all you could really, you had to be pretty devoted. And it sounds like you were for that period of time.
Well, it's the same thing as jiu-jitsu right now. I mean, I was putting in about 7 hours of training time a week, 7 to 8 hours, no more than 8,
Yeah.
About average of 7 to 8, which is the same time that I do for jiu-jitsu right now anyways.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's converted over very well for jiu-jitsu, actually.
Oh, timing-wise, I guess, huh?
Yeah, I mean, before, go out for runs. If you wanted to, gather up your miles, you'd have to, at the peak, you'd be training about 6 to 7 hours of running time.
Okay.
Now, so now, you have like 5 classes at 90 minutes each. I mean, it's still gonna go up to about the same amount of time.
Now, if it weren't for, you said injuries and whatnot, if it weren't for these injuries that you talked about, do you think you would still be, running and you wouldn't be doing jiu-jitsu right now?
Probably, yeah.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Wow.
I think the chances of things happening and stuff like that, going into that afternoon class,
yeah.
Life may have taken me into a different path.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I see. So I did want to, I just remembered, I didn't want to forget to do this. You are, so back to jiu-jitsu and your style, Hieu. You are very, you're very systematic in your approach to jiu-jitsu, and you study hard. And you told me last summer when we were training a lot together, because, summertime is when I can do mornings a lot. And one day you mentioned notes, and you said something about, oh yeah, I take notes and this and that. And I think you were the first person I ever met or I talked to who took notes. And I was like, notes? What do you mean notes? And so you're like, oh yeah, I take notes every day. Here, I'll send them to you. And you texted me some notes after class that day. And for our listeners who don't know, Hieu takes some incredibly detailed notes, and I just want to read them out so that unless you feel like I'm revealing too many secrets of yours, then because you shared this with me and I was absolutely blown away at how detailed these notes are. So allow me to read these notes out. I'm curious how much of this you remember as well, Hieu.
So I write them down. That's exactly why I write them down.
Right. I think you and Cody should compare notes, because he's good at taking notes too. Here we go. Nogi class notes, September 4th with Professor Jiva. Leg locks. Warm-up and foundation drills. 1. Initial setup. The warm-up drill focused on transitioning into the ankle lock from single leg X. Start with your right foot on the bottom of your opponent's left hamstring and your left foot on the right side of their waist, similar to single leg X. Apply pressure by biting down with your legs. Your partner removes your left leg by going over it, at which point you switch sides. Move your left foot to the bottom of their left hamstring and adjust your right foot onto their right waist. This drill helps establish fluid something, and then it cut off. Main techniques. 1. Single leg X to ankle lock. Enter the single leg X position with your right leg between their legs and your left foot on their waist. If the ankle lock fails, e.g., parentheses, you use parentheses in these notes, e.g., your partner removes your foot, switch to the opposite side.
Okay.
Re-enter the single leg X position on the other side. Is any of this coming back to you? Do you remember taking these notes? Or do you, or are you, well, let me finish them and then we'll get there. 2, transition to heel hook. Instead of going for the ankle lock again, switch to a heel hook. Use your elbow to trap the opponent's heel and torque the heel counterclockwise. Professor Jiva's tip. Look to your left while torquing to maximize the pressure for the heel hook and get the tap. 3, opponent's defense in transition. If the opponent rotates with the heel hook to escape, you may lose the grip. There's a third page of these notes. Incredible. 3, opponent's defense in transition. Oh, yeah. In response, take your right leg and place it behind their knee. Come up, grab their waist, and transition into a calf slicer. 4, calf slicer to back take, parentheses, safety in transition. As calf slicers are typically restricted to higher belts, brown and above, you can use this position to transition to the back. 2 options to take the back. Bulldoze forward by scooping up their right leg with your right arm. Insert your left knee between their knee and elbow, pulling them back for the back take. And then I can't read the rest. But those are your notes from that day. So impressive, Hieu, I gotta say. Like, I don't think I could even today's class, I don't think I could finish today's class and remember that much, enough to write down that many notes. Mine would be pathetic compared to yours. So very impressive, dude. Do you still take notes like that every day?
I try to. I mean, although I think for this past week and a half, for the passing, I've been off it.
You've been off taking the notes? Okay.
Although, I try to do it as much as I can though.
Now, would you say, now hearing me read those notes back to you, is it all like, oh yeah, I've mastered all that now? Or is it more probably not, but
I recognize the notes. I recognize the class.
Yeah.
It was the ankle lock to the heel hook to the calf slice to the back.
Okay.
Although I think what I'm able to see the force. However, from up top, 20,000 view. However, I think it's like the view from underneath, with the more details. That's that I don't recall, and that's what the notes are there for. And the reason why I started taking it was because I remember one class. I think the one that started it all was when we spent like 2 months in De La Riva, and it was like, I think you were there that week, or those weeks. But
possibly.
It was De La Riva far sleeve, De La Riva collar, De La Riva cross collar, De La Riva, it was like De La Riva in every variation. I couldn't keep track of it more. I was like, I'm getting way too much. So, and then that's what just kicked me into it. I got to start having a system to take this all down.
Yeah.
Organize things.
Right.
Because I realized I was forgetting and a lot of stuff. And yeah.
That's when you started taking notes, was then? It wasn't like from the very beginning then?
No.
Okay.
I started taking it because I was being overwhelmed with I felt overwhelmed. So I needed a way to, I guess, at least recall and review things.
Yeah. And do you feel like it is helping for sure? Like when you take notes, it sinks in better, and maybe the next class you're like, ooh, thank God I took those notes, and help that sink in.
I wish I could say that, but no. I find the notes are very good for reference.
Okay.
Later, let's say for instance, like today we had the class on the lapel where we used it for the armbar.
Yes.
But we had a similar lapel class before as well, where we used the lapel. So I often would use it to come back and
yeah.
Okay, I remember this. We kind of did this because I feel that looking over material that we have practiced ourselves resonates better than looking over just a video that we haven't practiced with the muscle memory. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. So, sometimes like, when we've done it before and I was like, oh, wait a minute. That's our point. We did this before.
Yeah.
Wait, let's look at the details of it. Yeah. So,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah. So
I mean,
I like to use it and just like, look back and say, wait a minute. I have these. Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, these notes. So so when you are rolling, like let's say you're rolling with, who knows, a black belt, a brown belt, a blue belt, a purple belt, a white belt. In your approach, like, do you have a approach to the roles where you're like, in this role or today, I'm going to try to focus on this, or I'm going to try to do that, or is it just I'm just going to roll and see what happens?
I I try to keep the technique of the day in mind and
Okay.
try to get it.
Okay.
However, once you may get that opportunity to do the technique of the day, and then you may get that entry into it, and then it may just like the opportunity passes, and then after that we just go into our regular role.
Okay.
Yeah, and then
Okay.
as far as like my regular roles, my I guess, how would I say this? I don't really look for any type of guard, although there are some that I always end up in, so to say.
Okay. Such as.
Yeah, I always end up in butterfly or Delahiva. I mean, I guess like more mid distance type guards.
Okay.
Yeah, as opposed to something more close like half, which I don't prefer because
Okay.
I don't like I guess like Professor Jiva pointed out one time, like it's just a guard where you're just getting crushed. I was like, I don't like it.
Uh,
I like distance.
okay.
Yeah,
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. So you're saying, I find it interesting. You're saying you just end up there. So you just kind of end up in Butterfly Guard. You end up in Delafiva. So you're not actively trying to go there. You just end up there. You're
yeah.
saying.
I like ending up. Yeah, I just so happens maybe the way my workflow or my
Uh
sequences
huh.
in my head
Uh huh.
subconsciously, but yeah, it just yeah. I mean, I'm not gonna. Yeah, I mean, I don't really have the physical attributes to go for the takedown, or if I or the gas tank to continue going for it, and then
Uh
be able
huh.
to continue on. So I try to conserve my energy, pull that guard, and look for some type of distance type game.
I
Yeah.
see. I see a distance type game. So is there what are some of your most common submissions then that you are able to complete?
Just the ones I run into is just either triangle or arm bars. Yeah, I don't know why.
Triangles,
Yeah,
and you don't know why.
yeah. I mean,
Wow.
I guess I know.
Wow.
I guess the only way is maybe triangle arm bars. Maybe because my foot's up in the. Maybe I have active feet. I guess. You know.
All right.
Yeah, I'm guessing because I have active feet and I'm pushing on the bicep a lot.
Okay.
So then sometimes the foot goes past the armpit or past the neck. I mean, it gives some type of angle there. But I oftentimes find myself and just ending up in triangle just because I can lock the legs or I see some type of hyperextension with the elbows. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. But I mean, the most fascinating thing I'm hearing is that you just end up in these positions that you're not actively going for the armbar per se or the triangle per se. It just kind of happens. It's just
Yeah.
kind of naturally for you.
Yeah. I don't. It's the ones I gravitate towards, as opposed to, let's say, for instance, some people have that collar type of
Yeah.
submission game, which
Yeah.
I'm non-existent. I have
Non-existent,
my
really.
collar.
No cross collar then.
No, my collar game is equivalent to a 1 month white belt. Yeah, because it's just that I I think that my understanding of collar mechanics is very non-existent. I mean, I like hooks, I like frames,
Okay.
I like looking for hyperextension on the elbow. I
Uh-huh.
like compression.
Uh-huh.
However, for one reason or another, I cannot understand the mechanic of just collar grips. Because I feel like collars, you have sometimes you have to grab a collar at the right point where have connection. Other times you grab shallow or deeper, and I find that I probably haven't put enough time into it for the purpose of finding that sweet spot, or like, or even if I get the sweet spot, it's that second hand that has to come through. And perhaps a lot of people are already, very good at defending the collar. I mean, I just had a difficult time developing it. So it's a work in progress. Yeah.
That's something that I'm still finding is interesting to me, is that, when I started, I didn't really know it was possible. I still don't really understand how you can be a higher. I thought every higher belt, purple, brown, black, whatever, pretty much knew and was proficient at every sweep, takedown, submission, pass, all of them. But then I'm learning little by little, you don't have to be great at all of them. I think a blue belt told me one time, he said, you need to be pretty good at everything and really good at a few things. That's what a blue belt told me one time. Would you agree with that?
Gosh.
Or would you put it like that? Or how would you put it?
Gosh. Wish I was good at something.
Well, you already said you're good at triangles and arm bars.
Well, I just happen to end up there.
Yeah,
I just happen to end up there. Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, I just kind of like trying to see whatever falls there, I guess. Yeah. I mean, if something falls, or maybe it's just what I see. Sometimes we just when we're focused on something, all we do is see it. And perhaps I feel like maybe I have a lot of opportunities for other, cool things like color that, because of how I understand things, I just don't see it. Yeah. Maybe another form of I guess bias is that I have a bias towards arm bars and triangles.
Well, hey, I'm with you. I'm looking forward to having a bias towards something. I don't feel like I have much of a bias towards anything. Have you? I know we're almost 45 minutes here, and I don't want to let it go before we talk about. Have you competed?
I have competed a few times.
All right. I didn't know that. Okay, so let's talk about that. How did your competitions go? What rank were you? When was the first one? Let's say.
Competed at white, first one back in back when I was a white belt.
Back in the day, hold on, back in the 2008 2009 time.
Yeah.
Okay, and how'd it go?
That one I lost by. It was my first match. I lost by advantage. It was at something called the Fit Expo at the Gracie Nationals or something like that.
Okay.
And then the second one was a grappling X, and that match went 8 minutes, which is unusually long. And then I won that one, and then I was really gassed out, tired.
Did you win by submission or points?
I won by points on that one.
Okay. Was it takedown? Do you remember how?
We were just switching back and forth in half guard, and then afterwards, after 5 minutes, it was time's up, and then whoever scored the next point wins. And then we just kept on going for another 3 minutes until I somehow got the points, and then I won that one.
Wait, so the reason why it went longer is because it was tied?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that. So a match can't finish in a tie, even like a white belt match?
I have no idea. That's what happened. Yeah. It was I think it was a grappling X one. Yeah. And then
so this was way back when, and so you lost that one. You won the next one. That's awesome. And did you do more back then?
The next one after the match after, and I went on to the second match of that second tournament, and then dude as a wrestler completely destroyed me. Yeah, laid me on my back, destroyed me. Yeah.
Okay.
And then the third one was about maybe 2 years ago when I had a first one stripe blue.
Okay, so hold on. In what weight class are you? In what weight class were you competing in? You're the 155 to 168, or are you in the next one up? You're the next one then, I guess.
I was. I think back then I was maybe 2. I don't remember.
Don't start with a 2. No way. You?
Yeah.
Okay, you don't remember.
Yeah, I don't remember. I mean, it was. I think I was above 194. No. The first one I was below 185. I was 185 below. Yeah.
Okay.
And then this recent one, the second one, I think I was probably a little higher because I didn't cut for the second one. And then the third one just recently.
Wait, so what do you weigh? What are you walking around at?
I'm walking around at 184 in the morning.
In the morning.
Yeah. 184 in the morning. Yeah.
Okay, got it. So so you competed as a white or as a blue, a one stripe blue, and this was 2 years ago. Your first one since after the big hiatus.
Yeah.
And since you started training here at One, you competed as a one stripe blue. And how did that go?
Yeah. So that one I had I had 3 matches.
And sorry, what age bracket were you in then? How old are you again?
I'm 45.
45. Hey, all right.
45.
You are over 40. All right, good deal.
This body's made in the 70s.
Nice. So you turned 46 this year? You're 79?
46 this year.
Oh, me too. I just turned 46 like 2 weeks ago. So
Yeah.
cool. Same year. Nice. So you're in the 40 to 45 age bracket or whatever it is. And okay, sorry. So how did the competition go?
First one went well. I got that one. It was a deep half sweep. And then I won that one 2-0. The next one, I pulled guard, although the guy had a lot of energy, just kept on going. And he just kept on going until eventually he passed my guard.
Okay.
Yeah, passed my guard. And then after that, just started pouring in the points. I think I lost that one like maybe 6-0 or something like that.
Okay, now what was he doing to get the points? He passed your guard. That gets what, 3 points? I don't know points very well.
He passed my guard, and then I think eventually, after he passed my guard, it was just a game of surviving and fending off submissions and knee and bellies.
Okay.
Yeah, for the rest of the round.
So he's getting little points here and there for like a knee on the belly or whatever. Okay. And that was the second match.
Yeah.
Okay.
After that one, I was done. I was spent. After the first one, I was already spent. And then after the second one, I was ready. Like I was already empty. I was like, all right. Get me out of here. And then I had a match. Yeah. Although that third match, I came in, I was ready empty. Yeah. And then he got the armbar at me. Yeah.
Oh, he got the armbar in the third match. And so when you were approaching these matches, were you going in, you must have had a game plan, right? Did you have a game plan? Did you have Wellington there? I mean, who was,
Wellington was there. And then at that point in my journey, all I had was a deep half game.
Okay.
I didn't have.
Now can we remind our listeners what a deep half is?
Yeah, deep half is when you go underneath a person and then you want to tip them over by making them fall either backwards or like taking their back and crawling up. So it's a guard that was developed around 2011, 2012 by a guy named Jeff Glover. And it's
man, you know your history.
Yeah, it's kind of almost like jokingly referred to as like the 40-year-old guard.
Oh, okay. Yeah. But when you say deep half, does that half not stand for half guard, or it does?
It's like a form of half guard. It's a form of half guard where you go underneath the person.
I'll have to have you show me tomorrow.
Yeah, and
if we have time.
And it was something that I resonated to because in my old gym, it was just a lot. He dealt with a lot of top-heavy people.
Oh,
yeah. So with somebody with a top-heavy pressure, I mean, you don't have a choice. You're underneath, so you have to resort to something creative. So that's
and that was and that was your game plan going into these matches at that competition.
Yeah, that was my that was what I had.
Okay.
Yeah, deep half and a half guard. Although these days things have changed. I have a little bit more of a distance one. I haven't had a chance to, I guess, test it out yet. Hopefully, I will be able to.
Okay.
But we'll see though. Yeah.
But you did, and you've done another competition since then?
Not yet.
Oh, not yet. Okay.
Not yet. Hopefully soon. Yeah.
So you do plan to compete again?
I do plan to compete. Yes.
And do you want to compete? You are a one stripe purple right now. Are you planning to compete as a purple, or do you want to wait till you get to brown or black, or do you have much of a plan yet?
I think I want to compete as a purple. One step.
You want to compete as a purple.
One step at a time. Yeah.
Okay, so you got some time then. You're a one stripe purple, and So you got a couple stripes to go before you get to brown, and you can compete, and you'll be able to compete then. Yeah, so I guess your next competition could be sometime in the next year or two then, right?
Who knows?
Or you want to compete sooner than that?
Who knows? Whenever life lets me.
Whenever life lets you.
Yeah.
Gotcha. And so you do plan, by the way, to keep doing jujitsu till like to go all the way to black belt, right?
Well, I've never thought about it that far.
Really?
I mean,
Okay.
yeah, I mean, how would I say this? I plan to do it as long as I can, you know?
Okay.
Yeah, just as long as I can, you know. Yeah, I mean, heck, yeah, just like, as long as this body, like, lets me hold up. I mean, not barring anything else,
Yeah.
heck, you know, I would like to be the old guy in the mat.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So whatever belt takes you there, you just want to keep doing this.
One step
Yeah.
at a time. I mean, whether or not, you know, in 10 years I'll be a brown belt still, or like, wherever life takes me.
Right. Right. No, I think that's the right attitude to have, even as a white belt, or any other belt. I mean, sure, I've got dreams of wearing a black belt someday, but I've also got dreams of, wearing a blue belt someday. So I'll just take it one step at a time, man.
I don't know. Those belts, like, seem, in my opinion, seem very heavy. I mean, I can.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I remember, just being like, I was like, not given that white blue, but actually I was, physically given that blue belt, but I was
Yeah.
like, man, it's, the I guess the concerns are real. I mean, every time you get a new belt, you know, I remember just like, getting choked out by everybody, and like, am I qualified to wear this
Mm-hmm.
belt?
Mm-hmm.
And then yeah, they come with expectations and the stripes and stuff like that, and then it's real. Yeah.
Absolutely. Hey, like I said before, I mean, I feel pressure having the one stripe. The one little stripe makes me feel pressure, and I think wearing a blue or a purple or whatever, I know if / when that day comes that I'm handed a blue belt and I'm wearing it, it's gonna be, oh wow, I better prove myself now. I really got to prove myself. And I mean, didn't you go? Is it me, or did you go from like a 3-stripe blue all the way to just straight to purple? Didn't that happen, or no?
Oh no.
Oh no, you had the 4th stripe.
Did
I just can't remember. I felt like I just remember seeing you wear the purple, and I'm like, oh, did Hieu just jump up to that, or was that not? I can't remember. I know they do that sometimes.
Now that you mention it, I think it did happen.
Now that I mention it.
Yeah, I think it did happen.
Aha.
Yeah.
And this was like last summer, right?
I think I recall that. I think I had a situation where, well, he said, well, you know what, this is your last class at purple or something like that, and I was like, wait a minute, I think I had one more stripe.
Oh, last class at blue, you mean, right?
Yeah. Wait a minute. I was like, yeah. And I think I said I thought I had one more stripe, so it may have happened. Yeah.
So what was that like? What was that day like that you? So he handed you the purple belt, and you were just like, whoa, oh my gosh! I mean, do you remember it that clearly? Was it like, oh crap? Do you remember like putting on the purple belt the very next day and being like, oh boy, I got to wear this now?
Well, I remember the ceremony and stuff for that. I mean,
Yeah.
it was a fun times, and we all get to celebrate, with our new belts and stuff for that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's fun. It's fun celebrating with our friends, and it's a lot of camaraderie and stuff for that.
Oh
And
yeah.
we all get to like move up together. So it's a fun thing. There is, I guess, a different. I don't know, or maybe it's in my own head and stuff for that. Like trying to approach things as a purple belt, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I try to be more technical and try to not use so much strength, so to say.
Okay.
Yeah, and then so I mean, as a blue belt, I remember I get someplace and I'll just be like, if I'm in a bad spot, try to like I guess
scramble,
yeah, or maybe like shoot out a jolt of energy and like re-roll this to see where it goes. But
Yeah.
I feel like at Purple, it's like, okay, wait a minute, stop, let's take a look at this and see what I can dial out. I mean, at least that's what I'm trying to make myself think. I'm
Okay.
trying to force that to my workflow. So
Okay.
yeah.
Do you feel you have enjoyed properly every belt that you've worn, like the white, the blue, the purple? I mean, you're still a fresh purple, but I mean, do you feel like you enjoyed blue enough? You enjoyed white enough?
Oh, naturally, yes, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, naturally. I think the whole jiu-jitsu experience has been an enjoyable one. Yeah.
Good. Good. Yeah. Do you have any advice for people who are, who roll over 40 out there? Any rolling over 40 beginners out there who are just fresh getting into it? And any advice for them?
Oh gosh, yeah. Enjoy the process. I mean, for the people who are thinking about coming in, I mean, one of the most common concerns I hear is that, oh yeah, you know what? Let me get into shape so that way I can join the class. And to them, I mean, I always tell them, you know what, just jump into it. It's a fun activity.
Yeah.
I mean, you have nothing to be fearful of. I mean, you're not going in there to like kill or or be killed or something like that. I mean, it's a very fun environment, especially at our school. I mean, just come in and have fun. Just come in and have fun, and then I, I think the maybe there's a lot of jiu-jitsu memes out there about like jiu-jitsu, and maybe it gives a wrong impression that it's a how to say this, somewhat of a mean sport to beginners. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
we
Mm-hmm.
joke about it and stuff like that, but
Yes.
I mean, to people who are thinking about to try it out, I mean, it's a very very, at least in our schools, it's a fun and nice place.
Yeah, I mean, speaking of that, I kind of meant to ask you this earlier, but everybody I've interviewed and everybody that trains at our gym, we love our gym, and it's such a warm and welcoming place, a lot of camaraderie. And would you say it is different from the gym that you trained at before, the one over in Garden Grove or wherever it was? I know it was a long time ago, but did you have a good sense of camaraderie there too and welcoming?
I had a good sense of camaraderie over there as well. And then I would say that the distinguishing thing between old gym and new gym is over here. There's a structure wise, there's a lot more structure, especially with the fundamentals class, and and then as far as getting you aware of the I guess in some subjects, they have the fundamentals introduction, and that's what I appreciated about the one over here. I realized that when I came over here, I was like, wow, okay, I wish I had known that. So there's a lot of those moments. And then it's
Okay.
it's not to say that one is um it's just a different type of learning experience, I guess. Yeah. The other one is just kind of throw you in, and you know, if you happen to survive and crawl out, okay, all right, you continue on. Out of old school, I mean, there was things like, yeah, I mean, you come in and you roll on the first day, and if you make it out, you want to come again, cool. If you don't make it out, you don't like it, maybe it's not for you.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I've heard that before too, from some of my other guests have said that, like, that kind of is different about our gym, and that it's a little more of a smooth entry if you're a beginner versus a lot of other gyms. And again, I don't really know because I never trained at any other gym. I only know our gym, but it doesn't surprise me to hear that does make our gym kind of unique in that sense, and it's just another, all the more reason that makes our gym the awesome gym that it is.
Yeah, and then it helps us, at least it helps me connect all the dots together, and it makes learning jujitsu much easier as well, because then it's not like I know the technique or mastered it, but at least I
Yeah.
know it's out there. And then when we see other instances of techniques, we're able to connect the dots. And I think
Yeah.
it's a more conducive experience for that purpose.
Right. Absolutely. Well, Hieu, it's been a pleasure having you here, man. Thank you so much for making the time for this. And
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, of course. And I'm gonna hit stop here, and then don't go anywhere because we gotta let everything upload.
Cool.
All right. Sounds good, man. So I'm gonna hit stop, but don't leave the meeting. All right.
Cool.
Okay. See you in a minute here.